waits, and Thompson scores!
Masaba's in the middle. Wednesday here could seal it. Gassman finds Masaba.
It's now Bannon. Bannon with a great ball in. Here's an opportunity. Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday.
I've been told that we're far too negative on this podcast, and it should be our job to unite the fan base and not demoralise them further. So I'm going to start off with all the positives from this past week. Congratulations to James Beadle on winning the Euro Under-21 Championship final over Germany with England this weekend. It was also nice to see Rebecca Taylor, otherwise known as Self-Esteem, take to the Glastonbury stage on Friday, donning a nice retro Wednesday jacket, putting Wednesday firmly back on the map to some degree. Anyway, fell short of calling Chancery a wanker though. Right now, that's the positives out of the way. Let's get underway with the rest of the show. Hello and welcome to Wednesday Till I Die podcast. I'm James Mappin. With me this week, as he always is, topped up with his son's birthday cake and a few beers, no doubt, Mr. Matt Johnson. Matt, how's things, mate? All good?
Yeah, not too bad, James. Not too bad. But considering, I would like to add one to the Wednesday positive list. Training top's really nice. Shame we can't buy it.
Oh yeah. How could he have missed that one with the whole announcement that the training kit is, like you said, available to buy and available in all major outlets and whatever else. I mean, it does look all right, doesn't it? I mean, for a split second, people forgot the shit show that we were in, but then it soon came crashing down. I did, however, thought that we'd re-sign George Byers for a moment as well with some of those photos.
Yeah, Michael Smith, what a transformation that boy's had over a little while. If you go back, James, and have a look at him at the Peterborough game, because, occasionally you do have to go back and remember that, 2 years ago it wasn't as bad as this. Go back and watch those highlights and look at his Barnet there to now. What a transformation, Michael.
He has had a glow up and a half, hasn't he? I mean, I think last summer it looked like he'd kind of got a bit, his physique looked immense compared to before. I mean, I'm not saying that it was like, some overweight bastard like me, but he did something there. Now he's gone off for the Barnet. Now he's maturing with age. He's like a fine wine, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? He's getting better with age. Who knows? 8 goals last season. Maybe he's going to get 20 goals a season. We need it anyway. Matt, first of all, this football net that you've bought your son, is that for him or is that for you?
No, genuinely, James, it is for him. Like, genuinely, it is for him. But, there was a comment that was made yesterday where we were having a kick about in the net. Like, it was just before he went to bed. Like, there was no net because that took fucking bastard half an hour to put up. They were having a kick about, and he said, "Dad, why do you like football so much?" And I said, "Oh, because I used to play football. Like, Daddy used to play football when he was a young boy." And he said, "You used to play football," and I just didn't appreciate the tone. I just really didn't appreciate the tone. So, yeah, I then went outside for 20 minutes after he'd gone to bed, just lashing balls into it, which was quite funny.
Yeah, no problem.
Made me feel better anyway, James.
Well, yes. I mean, in all seriousness, though, once again, there has literally been no positives, has there, at all. Dejpon has slagged the consortium off, obviously too busy doing whatever he's been doing to forget to pay HMRC and the staff and no doubt the players tomorrow as we sit down and record this. Either that or he is properly skint, which I'll let everyone else decide on which one that is, to be honest. We are going to be talking primarily about Danny Röhl on tonight's show. News that he's already been negotiating his exit from the club. Bookmakers already have the odds for next manager at Sheffield Wednesday. Obviously, he's not been officially announced as of yet, but he wasn't here on Thursday with the rest of the guys that turned up for training. So, read into that what you will. I can see there's loads of people in the chat already. We've got Charles, we've got Rob, we've got James saying, "Evening, guys. Here Sunday session has a whole new meaning." We've got Mark who's here as well. Robert says, "Hi all, what to talk about tonight?" It is never a dull moment as a Sheffield Wednesday fan. Dejpon's in the chat. Guess who's back? Back again. Dejpon's back. I hope he wasn't. Tell a friend is what he says. Alex is here. There's loads of people in the chat. Do get your comments in. We'll try and read some of them out as we go along. Now, before we talk about Danny Röhl, I think it would be a miss for us not to talk about the other things that have been happening, Matt. Thursday, we had the statement from Dejphon Chansiri, which I found quite ironic, how he told the world that he thought that the Florida Consortium didn't have enough money to run the football club, whilst he also doesn't have enough money to run the football club, which, something that was confirmed just 24 hours later. First, it was the news that HMRC bill hadn't been paid, and then about, an hour, less than an hour later, news that non-playing staff had notification that they're not going to get paid for I think the second month running. I think 3 out of 4 if you look in terms of players and stuff. But Matt, it's getting to a point where, if it wasn't already, that it's just getting very, very serious. Like in the past, it was just late. It was like a few days or a week or something like that, and then it gets all sorted. But now we're talking about 2 consecutive months. And it's not just a mistake, is it? He would have known this. He knows that this isn't going to get paid, and he's just seemingly letting it happen. I mean, where do we go from here?
Difficult question, James. I've got the logical answer. The logical answer is you go out, you beg people who have shown an interest, and you generate some sort of bidding war amongst potential buyers, generate as much capital as you possibly can and revenue that you possibly can in terms of actually, drumming up a bid, whether that be 40, 50, 60 million, whatever it is. If there's only one consortium at the table or one potential new owner at the table, you strike a deal with them yesterday. And you change the situation, and you make sure that the hardworking people that you claim to care so much about at the club, who keep the club running day to day, are paid on time and as soon as possible. What I think will happen, James, is nothing. Is the sad reality of the situation. I thought, we covered the statement obviously on Thursday night in greater detail for anybody who hasn't listened to it.
I think we went 24 hours too early, if I'm being honest, Matt, on that one.
Yeah, I agree with you, James. Yeah. Because then when we're talking about, again, and this is so horrible. See, this time last month for the podcast that we did surrounding non-playing staff wages not being paid, and we talked about how horrendous and abhorrent it was, and we said, you set up a GoFundMe for staff, and the club were unable to accept it. Obviously, that money has since been donated to Sheffield Children's Hospital, and it's gone to a good cause. That doesn't come as much comfort to those people who haven't been paid. I'm sure the well wishes and the support that everybody put the money in for has been well received, but actually it hasn't gone any further to anything else. I think the other situation surrounding it, James, as well, is this time last month, or like a couple of days after the payments were late or missed, there was directive from the club of, if you desperately need money, you need to go out and seek was it HR at the club?
Yeah.
I wonder if that offer's there now. Is that offer still there now?
I wondered where's this emergency fund? I claim to know nothing about this sort of thing. In my head, I'm thinking, if the money's there to be an emergency fund, why don't you just pay the players out of that? Unless it comes from somewhere else or something else, or whether there's something externally that you can kind of tap into. I have no idea, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I do. Matt, just before we've went live, Alan Biggs has tweeted, and when Alan speaks, you kind of sit up and listen to it, really. He said, can't move for hearing unsolicited suggestions from well-connected sources of more disruption behind the scenes at Sheffield Wednesday. Some staff said to be on the point of walking out, leaving, etc. A moving story in every sense. Horrendous. Feel for all those affected. And do you know what? It was only going to be a matter of time until that started to happen. And I feel like it's all just crumbling down. More things might be happening on Tuesday if players aren't paid. I feel like quite a few players will probably at least exercise their right to terminate the contract. Whether they follow through with it or not, it'd be a miss for them not to kind of at least write that email or piece of paper or whatever it is they need to do and send it in, just to kind of start the process, because it's 15 days for that. But yeah, it was, like I said, it was only a matter of time until this started to happen.
Yeah, I mean this nicely. More power to those staff members who are considering it. because they have stayed there on goodwill, good nature, support, love for not only the job and the people who they work with, but probably the football club as well. Go and secure a paycheck, and that's really, really sad. That's really, really sad that we're having to have such a frank and honest conversation about that. But we all know that the world doesn't work on IOUs. The world works on what's in your bank account. It doesn't make you a bad person for walking away from this situation. It doesn't make any of those staff members who are contemplating that potential next step a bad person. It makes them a person who has been put in a desperate, desperate situation by a controlling narcissist at the top of the football club who is unwilling up until this point, still now, to go back on his ways and actually get on his knees and beg for the football club to be sold to somebody who is interested in it, because this is where we're at now, because the power has, even up until the last month, James, the power has firmly remained with Chancery. You know, I don't think that bid's worth enough. I'm getting rid of that. I don't think that bid's worth enough. When everybody walks and leaves you, club staff, potentially playing staff, you better start begging.
It is that meme, isn't it? That it's fine. That is literally it. He just thinks everything's okay when there's other people that are. Yeah, it really isn't fine. That fans, staff now as well. You know, I'm the same as you. You know, last month when they didn't get paid, that's the time where you'd be straight away sending CVs to other places and just finding a job that actually, you know, you get paid at. You know, and also as well. I mean, again, I have nothing to back this up, just other than my own thoughts. I'm sure there's other people more better placed to say this, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that have either worked at Sheffield Wednesday for a hell of a long time. Yeah. For some, it might be the dream job. You know, imagine working for the club that you.
Oh my God, yeah.
That you adore, that you followed all your life, and now you've got a chance to actually work there, rub shoulders with, you know, the players that you go out and see on a Saturday evening, getting to chat to them in the morning, all that sort of stuff. Things that most fans would be like, oh, I'd love to do that, and they're getting to do that, and then they get faced with this, where for second month running, you know. The last month would have been bad enough, and then now they've got the same thing again. You know, again, I hope that they were all sorted out last time, but then you're having to kind of walk away from this, and knowing as well that it probably will get sorted at some point. Do you know what I mean? Like in a few months' time or a year, however long, Chancery will have gone, and then that will now be, you know, a job that will be happy again. But you've kind of left that because you can't afford to stay, and do you know what I mean? And it's just really sad when you hear that, and it goes all the way through from people working in the training ground, working in the working at the stadium, working in the club shop. All those people that are in this situation that they shouldn't be in. Like, let's be right about it. And again, it always comes back to me with he would have known this. Like, he would have known this before. And the thing that smacks me in the face more than anything else is the fact that he's turned down some people coming in to sort this shit out. And he said no, and then not paid people, and that is the thing that I think is just totally abhorrent, and it shouldn't really be happening. Again, we've spoken about it many times. It's bad enough with the players, but to do it for people, just ordinary people, you know, I mean that in the nicest sense, that people just do ordinary jobs and they're not getting paid for the time that they've done.
I've just highlighted a couple of comments here, James. So one from James Röhl, which is mass walkout of all staff needed as a show of solidarity. I think every single fan connected to Sheffield Wednesday would support that. I don't know of a Sheffield Wednesday fan who would have any issues with that. And again, it's something similar to what we were talking about here. The other one,
if it carries on, Matt, you know, when the shirt goes on sale, whenever that may be, just don't open doors on that day. I know there'll be some pissed off fans, but you know what? We'll stand with you. You know, turn up. Don't open the doors. Just don't turn up. And we'll just buy it the next day or whenever else.
Whenever,
you know what I mean? We'll get it at some point. It don't really matter.
Agreed.
But yeah.
And the other one that I've highlighted here is from Paul, which is Chancery is doing nothing to alleviate the problems at the club, which I would tend to agree with. We can have people who have direct lines of conversation to Chancery say, he really cares. He's trying his best to sort it and all the rest of it. And that's not me attempting to throw shade at Simon in any way, shape, or form. That is me literally sitting there saying, outside looking in, which I am, you are, he's not doing anything to solve these problems. He's not, because 2 of the last 3 months, coming on for 3 and 4. Now 3 and 4 is a hell of a strike rate, by the way.
Prolific, you could say.
Prolific for non-payment or late payment. He's not doing enough to alleviate this. He's giving statements basically rubbishing bids, regardless of whether he feels they're credible or not. That's not his call. His call is, I need to sell this. I am going to agree to a deal to ensure that all of the people at this football club who deserve to be paid and deserve to be treated in a manner that is respectful and is responsibly ran, if that is, say for argument's sake, that Florida consortium, or if that is another consortium or a different owner, the EFL have got their job. That is their job to sort it out. It is not your job to go, oh, do you know what? I really can't afford this, but I don't like them. I don't really like them.
Why should it matter?
Yeah, it does not matter. Yeah,
and for me as well, it's not just that. It's the fact that I don't think anyone, even if he sold it to the wrong person, I don't think anyone would hold it against him. Like, because he's in trouble at the moment. The football club is in trouble as well. Like, you know, and how wrong could it be? Like you said, the EFL are there to stop it being a proper wrong-un. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I know he slipped through the net, but they're there to prevent that. And at least we might get a couple of years. And as I've said many, many times already, I feel like I'm repeating myself. Like, as long as the next owners that come in have an exit strategy, which make it easier to get rid of the football club, whether that's to give it away or they sell it for a fair market value or something like that, they can just they hold their hands up and go, this hasn't worked. I'm going to walk away from this. And, you know, the football club's at the moment losing £9 million a year. Like I've said, you can earn yourself £9 million just by getting rid of it for nothing. You know, you'll be £9 million richer come 12 months down the line. As long as that happens, then I don't really care, to be honest, because at the moment it is. I've heard a lot of people say it is literally anyone but him. Like, just we'll take anyone. It's got to that point. I know previously there has been, you know, grass isn't always greener and all that sort of stuff. I kind of sympathise with those people a touch. It's gone too far now, really has, and the situation just needs resolving. Matt, what's the next punishment going to be? Because I know you get 30 days to kind of default on payments over a 12-month period. Well, Chansiri went, oh, my beer, I'll do that in 1 month because he's done that. I mean, I know we'd already surpassed that anyway at the start of this month, but you know, he's gone a full month now. Well, he will have done in a couple of days' time without paying any of the players at all. So, what do you think's next?
On the pitch, points deduction. That's it. That's your next stage. That's the final straw that breaks the camel's back in terms of the EFL. And again, we've heard many people who have been in dialogue with the EFL say that that's the last kind of like ultimatum. It's not what they want to do. But we've been here before with Chansiri, so we know that is a very high likelihood that will happen. Off field, I know when we last recorded with Kieran Maguire, Kieran said, I think we're quite away from administration. I think I would be, without wanting to put words in his mouth, I think it would be fair to say the situation has escalated and way quicker than anybody perhaps saw coming. Aside from Chansiri, of course, who knew all of this. You're talking HMRC winding up orders, you're talking administration, but again, the administration, there has to be some sort of say, like HMRC. I think it was Natalie who said on Thursday, and Natalie's obviously far more clued up on this than both you and me. HMRC can place you into administration, but then it's on you to appoint an administrator. So again, there becomes an issue there. It is just a situation where does it end up? It ends up like Reading. That's where it ends up. The good side of it is it ends up like Reading and you still have something left. Which, again, James, I'm not going to change my tune on that now. I do think Sheffield Wednesday is too attractive a proposition for somebody to turn down, for too many people to turn down, because we have heard, even if we've only had 2 concrete bids from one consortium, we have heard of a lot of whispers of people being very, very interested, and that it's Chansiri and his negotiation that has put people off. That position has drastically changed in the last 30 days. Drastically changed in the last 30 days. So it does become then, right, maybe I'm negotiating with somebody else here. Maybe I'm negotiating with a creditor rather than actually Chansiri himself. And that may make things a little bit easier. You know, when you were talking about earlier, James, just to go back, and I don't want to labour over the point because obviously we've covered it in detail, but you were talking about anybody else. How bad must it be when people are saying, oh, I'd take Mike Ashley? Like, how bad does it have to be for people going, oh, I'd take Mike Ashley, who is widely recognised as one of the worst football owners of a big club. Yes, he made a lot of money. Yes, Newcastle were relatively successful. But at this point in time, if he came in and was, you know, rumoured to be interested and took over the club tomorrow and ran it on a shoestring and cut corners and did this, but actually you had a football club at the end of it, I don't think there'd be too many people who'd go, do you know what? It was bad. He's still bad. He's a bad person. But actually, we've still got something there to salvage.
But all you've got to do is pay the players.
Yeah.
And instantly you are doing better than what Dejphon Chansiri is doing. Like, it's not difficult. Again, it goes back to kind of Cisco Munoz and Danny Röhl. When Danny Röhl came in, what did we do? We lost the first 3 games, I think it was, under Danny Röhl. And he was a saviour. Like, I mean, we won 1 in 5 or something like that. And it was like, yes, we've turned a corner.
We've got plan. We've got plan.
Yeah. And it's the same thing. Like, new owners come in and they don't have to do a great deal for us to. We've been beaten over the head for so long now, and it's been so shit for so long. With a, you know, some glimmer of hope, but not really down to the chairman. That actually they just need to be normal. And we would be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, you know, no club statements for 6 months. Yeah. What is all this about? You know, like that, and that's all they need to do. I mean, Dejphon has been in the chat. He says, breaking news, I've just sold the club to Pete Winkleman. Initially, I thought that was the guy who used to be on kind of Pop Idol. I realised that, no, it was the former MK Dons owner.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know who's better, to be fair.
Hey, they've got a nice, shiny new stadium.
Yeah. Actually, before we move on though, Matt, there is one positive that we forgot to mention. Wednesday Warehouse has been on. That's now open Sundays 10 till 2. Come and have a nostalgic stroll around the Sheffield Wednesday great days. And if you haven't watched the video that they did with the Wednesday week last Wednesday, I think it was, go and have a watch of that. There's some fantastic memorabilia down there, or better still, go down in person, as he said, and have a look for yourself. And tweet what you think is the best bit of Wednesday merch down there. It's down at Kelham Island as well, but follow him on the socials. You'll be able to find exactly where it is.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm going to have a bit of trivia now, Matt. I'm going to read out a quote, and you're going to tell me if Mr. Dejphon Chansiri said it or not. Okay. So, the first one. I don't know how long I'm going to stay here. It depends on the fans. If I don't feel happy, even if I make profit, I'm not going to be here. Did he say that?
Even if I make profit, yes. Even if I make profit. Fucking hell. Yes, James, he said that.
He did. That was December 2018, for those that were wondering. I give what they want more than they ask. Did he say that?
Yeah.
Yep, he did. That was January 2025 at the Fans Forum in relation to signing 11 players, even though Danny Röhl only wanted 6. If you understand business, you will understand I try my best. If you worry, then...
Sorry, James, I nearly had a very expensive accident there.
If you worry, then help us.
Yes, he said that.
He did. That was January 2025 as well. There's a bit of a theme here, I think.
Yeah.
But from now, I will not put additional money into the club.
Yeah. Everybody knows that's a tick box.
That was September 2023 club statement, that one. That was official in writing as well, not just hearsay. I'll read another one out. If fans can find a buyer, then I will listen.
Yeah, of course. Done that.
That was
Done
also
that, listened,
January.
but didn't do much else. So actually, to be fair to him, man of his word, isn't he?
Yes, of course. That was also January 2025 at that infamous 7-hour marathon fans forum, or however long it was. It felt like 7 hours anyway. Yeah, do you want to read that one out?
Sorry, James. Dejpon's back. 4th time. I've had enough of you liars. Where's the proof?
These have all come from the Star, so that's all I'm saying. I'll read one more out. If 30,000 commit to buying season tickets this season, then I'll make all of them £400.
Yes, he did say that without actually knowing that you can't sell 30,000 season tickets at Hillsborough.
Yes, you are right. I've got many more. Yeah, you get the point. He has said everything there, and it just sounds mad when you read them all out. I did ask for people to send their own favourite Sheffield Wednesday. Well, no, not Sheffield Wednesday. Dejphon Chansiri quote. Yeah. And they delivered. People did deliver. They got involved. Adam McNeil says kids don't want to support Sheffield Wednesday. They want a Prem club. Yeah, he said that actually. Yeah. I was in the room when he said that in that meeting that I had, which I was like, mate. Paul Pashley says, "I'll leave if you want me to." Yeah, he has said that one, of course. Just for clarification, I've not checked any of these to see if he has actually said them or not, so he might not have. But I'm sure he probably has. I'll read one more out. Paul Bearer, "I'll leave this club in a better state than I found it."
Oh, smart. This is my favourite one. Again, choose it or not. I'm cancelling the family fun day, man.
Yeah, which would have been yesterday, by the way. So
yeah, I hope everybody had a great day.
I'm sure they did. Anyway, let's move on then. Let's talk about Danny Röhl then. So, Matt, if I gave you 3 words to review Danny, or not the 3-word match review, but Danny Röhl style, what would they be for yourself?
It's a really good question, James. You'd have thought I should have prepped for that.
I'll give you some time because I'll read some more out. Again,
right.
I asked people. James Vernon says, legend, saviour, blameless. Wes says, deserves more respect. Sir Bertram's gone with snake, snake, snake. Liam said, same as Bruce, snake emoji. Darren, not very professional. Alex, the miracle worker. Lee, loved you once. One here, not to blame. He'll go far. Very big future. Not what seems. James says talented, unprofessional, and arrogant. Yeah, what would you go with, Matt?
I was trying to go around it, and I managed to squeeze it down to 4 of one that got away. But that was as close as I could get, James. I am really sorry.
Go away. You can put a hyphen in between those.
Yeah,
So
there
I
we
think
go. That'll
probably
do.
get away with it. Yeah. So,
That'll
or just
do.
put
We'll
no
get away.
space. Some people go to Townie and put full sentences without any spaces in, to try to slip that one through the net. But I think. Yeah, I'm not really. I thought I would have had one by now since I did it, but I've not even got three words. I think to be fair, when I look at it, best since Prem, I'll probably say.
Yeah.
But then it's difficult with 3 words. I sit firmly on the fence, which I know I don't normally do, when it comes to kind of the blame and and things like that. I'm of the thought of he, a very good manager, didn't have the players. Now you could argue you've got to be able to adapt, and I get that, but I think his like style of playing stuff, we just didn't quite have the players to do that. And when you look at where he's been before, you could probably understand kind of why he perhaps came in and didn't really maybe like kind of overestimated how good the squad is, and actually it's not that good not that good at all in comparison. So struggled a bit there. What was your initial reaction, Matt, when you read the news, which came very, very late on Wednesday evening? Alex Miller at the Star said, and I quote, Sheffield Wednesday and Danny Röhl are believed to be in discussions that would bring the saga over a manager's future to an end. He also went on to say that it's unclear at this stage whether it will be one of mutual consent, a sacking, or a resignation. But yeah, what did you think initially?
My overwhelming and overriding emotion, James, was sadness, because of what could have been. Do I think that this individual, and in particular whoever is advising him, is completely blameless in all of this? No, I don't think so. No, I think the entire situation from everybody involved in it has been handled appallingly. But I just look at the environment that the person's working in. And if the environment is unprofessional, that allows you some sort of wiggle room to also behave in an unprofessional manner. It shouldn't do, and everybody can sit on their high horse and say, oh, no, it shouldn't do. You should be entirely professional all the way through until the end. But that's not the case. It's just simply not the case. Do I think that he is an exceptionally talented first team manager or coach, whatever way that you want to put it on, like whatever spin you want to put on it? Yes, I do. I think he is an incredibly forward-thinking and progressive young football coach who will have a long and illustrious career within the game, whether that be at the top end of a top division around the globe. I'm not sure at this point in time. But he is a very, very, very good coach with a good, very good coaching staff behind him. He's built a very good backroom staff. Trade-off to that is, do I think that he has perhaps behaved in a manner that has angered supporters of late? Yes, because I tell you what, you've got to do some hatchet job to make a mess of the love and the feeling of kind of admiration that us as supporters had for you. Do I think that he's been poorly advised by his agency team or PR team, however you want to phrase it? Yes, I think he's been appallingly advised. Do I think this is any different to a footballer walking into training and telling a manager, I'm not training today until you sell me, and just blasting balls left, right and centre? No, I don't. No, personally, I don't.
I think, Matt, though, I think sometimes, though, I think he has been backed into a corner a little bit, because we're not talking about any normal club here. We're talking about an owner that just doesn't seem to comply at all, and also has arguments with people left, right and centre. And I think I take it from the point of he probably didn't have any option really but to do what he's had to do. Like, yes, he's leveraged on the fact that the fans absolutely love him. It's certainly early doors. I mean, like in this whole saga, and by that I mean kind of January onwards, or certainly slightly before that. He was saying about not speaking to the chairman. You have to ask him on the fans forum, and leverage on the fact that we all hate Chansiri, but all kind of loved I'll say Danny Röhl. But I think had Chansiri been quite an easy person to deal with and talk to, I don't think it would ever have got to this stage. So I feel like, there's so many times that, there's only so many times where you can kind of approach someone and not get the answer that you want, or even just not even get a conversation going, or any sort of kind of interaction where you just have to think, well, what else am I going to do? Like, and he clearly wanted to leave, clearly wanted to better himself. Yes, I know you can argue that he signed the deal and stuff, but people always make mistakes and things, and you should never be held to ransom. And also the relationship totally broke down, and again, we're never going to know until probably 3 weeks after he leaves about what happened with those conversations. I'm sure Dejphon will be crying out and dying to tell us what they were once he's left. But again, we can only kind of speculate, and we know Danny Röhl for some time, but we know Chansiri for 10 years. So and he's all these conversations and things break down all the time. So yeah, like I said before, I'm leaning more on the side of Danny, really, and I don't really. I also knew that he was going to move on. We were always a stepping stone. And yeah, it'd be great if we got the £3, £4, £5 million compensation and things like that. But also that kind of, people were turning their nose up at that. Even I think Windass was saying, like, do you even buy managers? Like, he was a bit kind of surprised that was even a clause in the contract, to be fair. So yeah, I mean, I think for me as well, I think it's just another punch in the gut. I mean, next season's going to be bad as it is. Like, now we've got to find another manager to try and sort that out. Just on that, by the way, we are going to be talking about that over on Extra Time. So make sure you sign up to Patreon, patreon.com/WTID pod. Because we are going to be talking about kind of who we think the next manager might be, or who we would want. Again, I know Danny Röhl hasn't officially left, but I think the writing is probably on the wall. But Matt, what do you think about Danny Röhl as a manager as a whole when you think about him?
Tactically very well aware. He may not always get it right, but he does figure it out within a game. There's very few games that I can think over his tenure here where he hasn't been able to figure it out. Has that led to a positive result? Not necessarily, but you can see tangible shape changes and adjustments within a game. Do I think, going back to your point earlier, that he's been hamstrung by the environment, James? Yes, because he's recognised at several points this player is not performing particularly well, turns around to his bench, and with no disrespect to this player, is Paul Valentin. Like, my wingers aren't cutting it today. This is where all our creative and attacking threat comes from. Right, who can I turn to? Problem. We've talked about kind of setting up in terms of the team. Josh Windass has spoken, obviously, on the Open Goal podcast about, incredibly detailed tactical meetings where it is highlighted in black and white for players. Now, I know that sounds like common sense, but from my reading of that statement is he's dealt with a lot of managers who don't talk in black and white. You are supposed to be stood here. Why are you not stood here? Very simple. I think the other thing about him as an actual manager himself, I know this is only like a skin or surface level thing, but I do think this makes a difference. He got all of the fans to buy into him early, and a recognition of getting fans to buy into him. And the last manager who I saw this do successfully was not his predecessor, but the one before in Darren Moore. Darren Moore, the minute that supporters were allowed back into the stadium, got everybody on side very quickly. Now, that may be just walking over to away ends or fans when kind of like the teams come out and doing a big clap at the end of games, kind of like going up and like fist bumping and all the rest of it. But you said it multiple times over the course of last season, James. That buys you a lot of time. Yeah. Going up and grabbing players after they've, won. I think about the scenes at Coventry away and where he's run down the touchline, punched the air. He's not gone to Mark Robbins, by the way. If I was Mark Robbins, I'd be fucking livid. But then he's turned around to all his team and he's gone and grabbed players and he's got giving them like a little hair ruffle and stuff like that. And I know they're only surface and skins things, but that does make a tangible difference. It does make a huge difference, not only to, you would assume, the relationships between those people, but the perception of what it looks like to the outside world looking in. That is something that in my Sheffield Wednesday supporting lifetime, I don't think we've seen enough of. I know Paul Sturrock was very good at it.
Yeah.
I would say Brian Laws was good at it. I'd say Megson, obviously, but Megson I don't think was necessarily an arm-round-the-shoulder manager for the players. I think he was just very good with managing fan expectation in terms of understanding people from Sheffield. Then I think you've got to go all the way to Carvajal before you get anywhere near it. I think Carvajal... Stuart Gray was a good manager, but Stuart Gray didn't do any of that type of rubbish. No. I think you've then got to go to Carlos Carvajal. There's then a massive gap, huge gap to me, to Darren Moore. And then Darren Moore and then Danny Röhl. Those are the only ones in my lifetime that have really I suppose, to borrow a phrase that kids would use, understood the assignment, if that makes sense. But the thing is with Danny is he's got the tactical stuff behind him and the team behind him to back all of that shit up.
Yeah. I think his kind of personality or his stuff behind the scenes has kind of come into question a little bit by certain people. Now, it's very hard to get that out because obviously that would just get shut down absolutely immediately, certainly on his social media platform. And do you know what? I kind of get it. Like, I get how he is like that, because I always feel like in any sort of sport, if you look at any of the top performers, if you look at tennis, Formula One, just to use a couple of examples. Even look at football with Cristiano Ronaldo. I think there's an element of you have to be a bit of a knob to actually get to that to that sort of level. You have to be very selfish and think about yourself a lot. I mean, I'm sure there's some people think, oh well, no, these people are like that, but there has to be an element of that. And just thinking purely about you and what you need to do to succeed. Now, on the flip side of that, you look at Darren Moore. Darren Moore, apparently, never met him, but if you speak to anyone else, nicest bloke you'd ever meet at a football club, went around knowing everyone by name and stuff. And yeah, I agree, that is a fantastic quality to have managing in League Two. last season. Right, I know he's promoted. He's in League One now, but he's not in the Premier League. He's not managing Chelsea or someone like that. Point I'm trying to make is yes, it's probably not great. I don't have to deal with Danny Röhl. I don't have to speak to him on a daily basis. I don't have to do training with him. I don't have to listen to him or do anything else like that. We just see what's in the public. So probably I might have a different outlook on it if I was privy to those conversations and stuff. But I just think you kind of have to be like that if you want to succeed and to get there quickly as well. So I'm not too bothered about that, to be honest. I just think that's just what happens. Yeah, it does taint him a little bit if you realise that he's a bit of a knob to certain people, but yeah, it is what it is sometimes.
James, I'm with you. I'm very much of the opinion that every single person who is, me and you sat on this, every single person who is in the chat, every single person who is listening to this on car Bluetooth devices or through AirPods or earphones or wherever, every single one of us has got an ego. Some are just bigger than others. And in professional sport, there is a monstrous ego because the whole thing surrounding, especially football, men's football, a very testosterone, ego-driven success story sport, because you have been told your entire life you're great. Whether that be coaching, whether that be as an analyst, whether that be as a player, you have been told you are exceptional. That is going to overinflate your ego.
And also, as well, if you don't back yourself, then who else is going to back you? Do you know what I mean? Like
100%.
you have to believe in your own ability. And I think that yes, there is a line, and sometimes people have been saying he believes his own hype. Maybe he does, but also you have to create the hype in the first place to actually. Do you know what I mean? Like
correct.
So that it's yes, maybe he does believe it, but I have no problems with that. I think it's more because the owner is an absolute tosser that I have sided with Danny Röhl a hell of a lot, and I am probably a little bit blinkered. I'm going to have to admit that, because there's probably people thinking, what's he on about? Like, hasn't he seen what he's done? And the form after January was shit, and I get all that, and I think I will admit it. I'm not a Danny Röhl happy clapper, even though I am,
Yeah, you are wearing the t-shirts. It's not a great look, I'll be honest, James.
I am wearing the t-shirt. I mean, it would be a bit daft if we were actually slagging him off every second. But I recognise he has got some flaws. But first managerial job that he's ever had. I think we bigged him up a lot as well. Like, I don't need to put it all on him. I think we probably thought he was, a lot bigger than what he perhaps is in reality, I guess.
Yeah, but also that is the benefit of being successful at a club like us, where you have got a large fan base, where you have got a larger media presence, where things are going well or horrendously wrong. Again, James, I'll go back to the point that you made right at the start of that little section there. If the club was set up to be successful and you to be successful, and it was geared towards you being successful, so if the entire structure off the field was really smooth and slick and everybody knew their job, and then you came in and behaved like this, I've got a problem. I've got a massive issue with it, and I would take a huge problem. And I go, no, he's a wanker. He needs to go. Like, he might be a good manager, but actually sooner or later that's going to wear off, and people are going to do this. The problem is, when people talk about, like we mentioned kind of like that January turning point or the December turning point, we are only learning about this information now, like in the middle of summer. Maybe he was privy to this then. Not all of it, not all of the ins and outs, but maybe he knew just how bad a situation it was, and he saw the iceberg. Now, there are several ways in which that you can try to engineer a way out of a club.
Danny, just on that before you carry on, he saw the iceberg, he got in the dinghy, but the fucking dinghy were flat, weren't it?
I think when you're talking about that, like you were talking the December to January drop-off, I think it's twofold. One is obviously he's trying to engineer a way out of the football club. I don't think there's two ways. I don't think there's any bones about that. And I don't think even the biggest Danny Röhl sympathiser would suggest that he wasn't. He was trying to engineer a way out of the football club. He was trying to better his career. He saw an opportunity for a Premier League club who were rumoured to be interested. The chairman confirmed as much. He saw an opportunity and tried to engineer a way out. It didn't work. Since then, I think, would it be fair to say that he was perhaps a little less emotionally invested as he was before. And this is a manager who does play on that emotional side of things alongside a good tactics, like a good tactical knowledge as well. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I also think it's fair to say that the squad was paper thin and that we had injuries stacking up to our eyeballs, and that our form up until Christmas, bear in mind from, what was it, October, end of October through, apart from Sheffield United, through till about December. I might be wrong on those dates. It might be closer to like the start of November through until December. Actually, we had a really favourable run of fixtures. And that squad is going to look better than it perhaps was, because I would argue over a 40-odd game season, you finish where you deserve to finish. There's no like late sprint for it or anything like that. You over 40 games a season, you know exactly where you finish is where you deserve to finish. I kind of sit there and think you've got to couple all of this together. Danny's a small cog within this. Yes, he's the manager. In terms of the playing side of things, I would argue he's the most important person within the playing side of things. But in the grand scheme of things surrounding everything to do with Sheffield Wednesday, his attitude is fairly small.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at some of the results from January onwards. I mean, we beat Derby, didn't we, on the on New Year's Day? That was last minute. Millwall at home, that was the ridiculous goal
2-2
in injury time. Yeah, 2-2. So should have won that one really. 2-1. Leeds lost. Bristol City at home 2-2. We beat QPR, drew with Luton, should have beat them, lost to West Brom last minute again, like 2-1, should have won that game, beat Swansea, then we lost to Coventry, last minute, howler from James Beadle.
But the one, sorry James, just to stop you there while we're on Coventry, the ones that you've mentioned, they are all player errors. They're not him. They're not individual things. Like if you think of the Millwall one, James Beadle needs to sew his hands on. Yeah. West Brom, Marvin Johnson doesn't track a runner. What was the next one? Coventry, two defenders don't run back, don't block Ellis Sims. James Beadle drops the ball tapping.
Yeah,
this is, and if you went from there through until, what was the game after Coventry? Remind me.
The one after Coventry was Burnley 4-0 when we should have been 2-0 up at half time.
Players missing opportunities, and again, this goes back to. If you think, just take that Burnley game in isolation, the first half an hour, the game plan was perfect. Absolutely perfect. Stuart Armstrong played as a rotating front man out of possession. Who the fuck saw that coming? Stuart Armstrong also missed from 2 yards out.
Yeah.
Like, there does come a point where, yes, I get that the stuff from the last 8 games after we lost at Cardiff and all the rest of it, and I'll never forget these players, and then turning on them and saying they're not good enough and blah, blah, blah. I get that irritates people, but it is true. It is true. This squad wasn't good enough. And I'm not talking about individual players here or the first 11. I'm talking about squad depth to finish in those top 6. If you look at those top 6, the only side that you could argue we had a chance to out or beat was Bristol City, who got in on the last day.
Yeah, exactly.
Weren't better than anybody else. All the other teams who finished there, they deserve to finish above us. Bristol City were the only one, and I would make an argument that Bristol City they are a better man-for-man squad than our 25.
Yeah, quite easily. I just want to move on to kind of when he first joined to get your thoughts on what you thought then. Jason's got in the comments, he said, I think he benefited from us having one of the worst managers we've ever had beforehand. Yeah, I do agree on that one. And just kind of go back a second, Tony said, I'm sorry, every contract I've entered I've had to complete. If I wanted a contract terminated, I had to pay the company. He signed the contract. He agreed. He was stupid enough to believe DC. Whilst I agree with that to a certain extent, I think football is totally different to any other industry, really. Like players, managers, they hold all the cards. And we heard John Newsom come out and say how some of the contracts are wild that Chancery tries to get you to sign. And maybe at the time, when he, again, it comes back to, was he promised things and not being delivered on? Well, he was promised to get paid, and that's not happened. So, but was there a transfer budget that wasn't received? There's a multitude of different things that, again, we're not going to be privy to as to why it's it's come to this point, really.
Well, James, just to go on to that point, or were you told and guaranteed assurances that there wouldn't be any issues with embargoes or pending embargoes? Because we were placed into one in October, weren't we? Because we didn't pay the tax bill. So even if we had money, I know we came out of it very quickly, but that immediately is another spanner in the works. It's just
I've got a message here from Lee. Says Blades here in peace, just to cheer myself up as it's a shit show at our place. Christ Almighty.
It's just, I mean, it's very nicely, Lee. Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this has cheered you up a little bit. All that's happened is they've sacked Wilder. That's it. Oh, it's a shit show. The world's falling apart. Fuck off.
Did you see that video, by the way?
Oh no, don't. That lad was chucking his hard drives away.
Oh, I'm sure people will know what I'm on about. If you don't, just ask someone else. They'll tell you exactly what it is.
Who's in that bag? It's Ruben Sellers. It's Ruben. Shut up. It's all your hard drives.
Oh, it's terrible. It's really terrible.
He was the same bloke, James, by the way. Same bloke who glued bits of air. I don't know who he's taken the air off. That's the worst bit. Bits of air to his head. He'd sellotaped them, and he was stood at the door pretending to be Barry Bannon, begging to save Sheffield Wednesday. It's awful, man. So bad.
Well, it's getting the traction anyway, so fair play to the lad, or granddad, or whatever it is. I have no idea.
Can you imagine actually granddad?
Imagine turning up for school on Monday. Fucking hell.
What the fuck has your granddad been doing? What did you do this weekend? I was supposed to go with my nan and grand's for tea, but he was busy outside Bramall Lane filming a video. Who's in the bag? Oh, no, it is me. I had to go.
That's right. Let's go back to when he first joined, because Xisco was sacked after the 1-0 defeat at West Brom, and that horrendous interview that he did with Rob Staten. It was sacked on the 4th of October, just the day after, and then 9 days later, just the other side of my birthday, Danny Röhl was announced as being the new manager. Rolled out in his trendy clobber, stood on the pitch with his bare ankles showing, trainers and a beige sweater. Sounds awful, but he made it look everyone ran out and bought a beige sweater, put it that way. And, I mean, I must admit, when he came in, I was quite excited, just kind of excited about where he'd been before, who he's worked with. Now, I'm not going to lie, I thought we were going to be signing about 15 Spanish kind of under-18s from Barcelona with his links with Hansi Flick. Obviously, that never materialised. But yeah, I was just excited. I think, kind of more to the point that was made earlier, just the fact that Xisco's gone. And it's the same feeling that I'm going to have when Chancery's gone as well. Like, whoever the next, I'm going to have like some blind optimism that the next owners are going to be far better than what Dejphon Chancery's going to be. Just like, thinking, thank fuck we've got rid of Xisco Munoz and someone else is actually taking over, because I could not bear that for 1 minute.
Oh, Xisco Munoz, just very well. Before we get into all of this, James, what a guy! We should have all known it was about to go wrong when it was July and Malik Wilkes was sat in a CP company beanie on the bench behind him, and no one said a word. Nobody turned around and went, "Will you take that off your fucking head?" Like, nobody said anything. Just leave him to it. Just before we move on from Danny's fashion sense here, I've got this one from James Revel, which is craft chic, which I think is the best way to describe it there. I was, again, James, I knew nothing about him as a manager. I thought the pedigree was great. I was just really, really grateful that it was somebody else who was being given a chance. That's all.
Yeah, I have to agree on that one. Should we look at some of the highs of his tenure, Matt?
Yes, please.
Look, positivity. Let's go for some positivity. The fact that he's not going to be here in a short while, maybe, possibly, most definitely. No, I think that the first win of his kind of managerial career and the first win of the season for us, we lost to Watford, we lost to Plymouth, both away, and then the first game at Hillsborough, Rotherham. Just a relief, weren't it, that we got that win? Michael Smith with a brace, I want to say, was it?
Yeah. I would go back one for a couple further than that, James, and actually go to Watford, his first game, because I couldn't believe that I walked out Vicarage Road and saw a plan. Jeff Hendrick looked like a footballer.
Christ almighty.
Don't get me wrong, we were not sparkling on that day by any stretch of the imagination. Like Callum Patterson should have scored with a header, I think it was, or was it Josh? It was one of the two, Callum Patterson or Josh Windass.
Should have had a penalty, by the way. Let's not add
James, I was dead level with that. There was no fucking chance.
Well, he gave it and then he didn't give it. That's what I mean.
But yeah, I remember walking out of Vicarage Road, and on that day I'd had a thoroughly shit day. I had to pay double for train fare tickets and all the rest of it. But actually, I thought that was a real positive because it actually gave you some sense of a hope if you had watched the game or been there yourself, that actually this squad might be all right at this level. It's just whether we'd given ourselves too much of a hole to dig out of, because actually that they could compete, and that actually all of the stuff that we were talking about when we were all stood in the Wembley sun walking down Wembley Way after beating Barnsley 1-0 in the 123rd minute, going, do you know what? We'd be all right this year. I think we're going to be competitive. That was it. It was there. It was a totally different brand of football and a totally different style of football. But for somebody who was at West Brom the game before and then went to Watford and was like, what the fuck is this? I remember walking out and just being like, this. I think I rang my dad afterwards and just went, he said, how was it? And I just said, better. Like, just so much better.
It would have been so weird, like everyone walking out of Vicarage Road, like looking happy. You think, oh, have you won today? And now we got beat 1-0. So why are you smiling?
Because there's an idea and a plan. We all saw it, and we can all see it, and it looks like it might work at some point. I just thought it was. I just thought it was a really, really positive thing from that. And again, yeah, it was Rotherham, wasn't it? The Michael Smith race. I didn't think we were great in the game against Rotherham. I thought it was definitely worse than Watford in terms of the actual performance. But it was very comforting to know, and this isn't just because it's Rotherham, it was very comforting to know, oh, there's a side worse than us. Like, oh my God, there's a side worse than us.
And my God, they were worse as well.
Oh, they were terrible. Yeah, they were absolutely terrible. But at that point, what were they? 4, 5 points above us, something like that. Might even have stretched to 6, James. So
yeah,
we weren't that much better.
No, yeah, you're probably right. I think another one as well. Before we move on to kind of the lows, that unbeaten run that we went on. It wasn't a massive unbeaten run, but we lost 2-0 to Leicester. That game where Beadle and Volks got a bit mixed up and what have you. Then then after that we won 4 on the spin, and then we went. 4 games with just a point, but that was Leeds, Ipswich, and Borough. Yeah. But then we went kind of 4 wins from 6 in the next ones, and for me that run was just we went a bit more direct, a bit more pragmatic, quicker from back to front. Kind of played a style of football that suited the players that we had, and it was great. Obviously, that was the point where we got out of the bottom 3 for the first time since the game week 1, I think it was. Yeah. Blackburn away, that the scenes 7,000 Wednesdayites in that away end at Ewood Park, and it was great, and it was almost like he could do no wrong, Danny Röhl, at that point. Like you could have literally, if you'd have said we're going to build a statue outside Hillsborough, I think people would have probably nodded and gone, I'll go with that.
Yeah, I think just coupling on to that, I think Millwall away in February, great day, really, really good day out, 2-0 win. Hull around Christmas that year. Jenny Gassama's first professional goal, the one from right out wide. Was it 3-1 on the evening? That was a really good result.
The one where they had a man sent off, didn't they, in that game?
Yes, yeah. QPR, James, you were in the posh seats. I was in the away end, but QPR, that was what a game of football that was. Sunderland obviously capped it off for the season, but by that point it felt like all of the hard work had been done the week before at Blackburn. It was great. And then I think if you're talking about coming into this season just gone, I remember coming out of we got back in from the Plymouth game, and obviously I'd driven back from Sheffield and we recorded the pod that night, didn't we? We did it at 9 o'clock. I remember getting in. I think you can go back, and it is in the first 15 minutes of that pod. And I said, if we have a better performance this year, I'll be fucking amazed. And actually, it turned out to be true. We didn't have a better performance all year. But that was, I thought, the culmination of what Danny Röhl could bring to this football club. That right there, that moment in the sun in August last year. What was it for? What date was it? 10th of August or whatever it was, 14th or whatever. Yes, Plymouth were a poor side. Yes, they got relegated. we dismantled a side like Ipswich did to us the previous season. Absolutely dismantled them. Plymouth didn't get a sniff all day. Yes, they were bad, but we were unbelievable. And then from there are a couple of highs, obviously, over the course of this season. That away day at Coventry where Shea Charles manages to obviously drop one in. I thought Oxford was an underrated one this year as well. That 3-1 win at Oxford where we went behind. Because we had that little run, didn't we, then this year of like we'd go behind and everyone was like, don't matter, we'll come back. Which before that, if we went behind, that was it, we'd lost.
That was it. Most points from losing positions, I think we finished up with. Get that on your honours board. Moving on to kind of some of the lows, you have to say the heavy defeats that we suffered. Far too many for my liking. Some really bad ones. I mean, a personal low point was Huddersfield 4-0 away from home. That was terrible, that one. 4-0 at Southampton, 5-0 at Ipswich as well. Just some really big hammerings where looking like we weren't even hardly in the game in some instances. And I think it's where the games, all those three that I've mentioned there, the game just got away from us really, really quickly. It's 1 and it's 2 straight away. You're like, and when you're 2-0 down like that, and it is a bit of shell shock in it, really. And we kind of still had that in us. I feel like, Sunderland as well was another one at the start of the season just gone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like 1-0 down, 2-0 down. And then it's a tall order then as well, especially against a side that you're going to struggle against anyway. Southampton, Ipswich as well. That's kind of a low point for myself.
Yeah, I think the low points are, the ones that you've mentioned, those really heavy defeats in that first year. But it did come to a point towards the back end of that season where it was like, do you know what? Our goal difference is so bad that it doesn't make too much of a difference, does it? But it was really demoralising, and it was no comfort for fans who were in the stadium at those games. Like I remember Peter coming on the debate show after Ipswich and just being like, "What the fuck has happened? Like, what the fuck was going on?" I think that the Sunderland one from earlier this year, that really did bring everybody back down to earth. Leeds, I know at Hillsborough was only 2-0, but should have been 4, 5, 6. Watford this year could have been 8. Legitimately, they missed chances, Watford. The lows are, in my opinion, few and far between, and they are significantly outweighed by the highs. But a couple of people have put this in the chat. There is no getting away from it's a 36% win percentage or ratio, which I know doesn't sound great on paper. And again, I think you have to contextualize it. But for a manager who loves his statistics, it's not wonderful, is it? It's not wonderful.
It's not. No, but I think I would go and say everyone would have took 12 at the start of the season.
100%, yeah.
So given what he was handed last season, like his first season, should I say, and then the fact that we were happy with mid-table this season, you ain't going to have a 50-odd% win percentage because guess what? You've been in the top two and you've been playing in the Premier League. So I think it has to be, you have to also look at what league we're in and stuff. Like, you could look at Darren Moore. He's got a fantastic win percentage, but most of his games were played in League One. So it's not quite as a good comparison, if you know what I mean.
No, I'm with you, James. I think this one here from Daz as well, which is how many times did players make mistakes to create goals that were scored against us, as well as mistakes that James Beadle made. Now, again, we've done the James Beadle thing to death. I do think that a keeper, a very young goalkeeper, going through a particularly rough patch with I think it was by the end of the season, I think we'd had 9 different centre-half pairings in front of him. Yeah, I think you couple and culminate that with a manager who does stick to a philosophy. I think his formations and his tactics and all the rest of it change, but actually a philosophy of wanting to play attacking front foot football. Like, do you remember in his first season? You've referenced the Ipswich game, where we'd get the ball, and for all the will in the world, the English football fan in you is screaming, right, it's 2-0, just shut the fuck up until half-time here, and get into half-time at 2-0, bang, 3, bang, 4, bang, 5. And it's like, how are they getting so much space? And then you realise, because they're just letting us attack them and then waiting for somebody to make a mistake and then just picking us apart. And which is, as you say, contextualizing it, is what the better sides than us have done. I am convinced still on any given day, any side that finished, let's include Bristol City in that, Bristol City down to where we finished in 12th, any given 90-minute game, I do think Danny Röhl's Sheffield Wednesday this year could have been better than any single one of them, and I would have backed them to have a positive result. Now, it's been an awfully long time, James, since I've said that about a championship Sheffield Wednesday, that you're coming up a team you are playing around you and you go, yeah, do you know what? I fancy us to win today.
Sorry to break it to you, Matt, but it might be a long time since you say that again as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, a championship is, I'm looking forward to this season, James.
Yes, definitely. Right, let's move on. We're going to talk a bit more about Danny Röhl, but I did ask people for questions as well. And it would be amiss for me not to read some of them out. And Danny Röhl's not gone yet, so we could all look very silly, and he might be in the dugout for the first game of the season. So
he'll be there on Wednesday. He'll be at St George's Park
if we've paid him. Anyway.
Can you imagine we rock up to St James's Park? No, we've cancelled your booking. Why? We haven't had any payment.
Yeah, we sent you an email 3 weeks ago and one last week as well, and you didn't even reply to it. You didn't even send the money. So
requested it on Monzo, Revolut. We've tried them all.
Share this bill.
Yeah, split these. Do you want to split this bill with someone?
Anyway, right. I asked for questions. There was one. A fairly straightforward one here from Dan. Says, with all the rumours going around at what's happening at the club, who is the most reliable source to get the most accurate information from? So I did actually reply to him on Twitter. I would have to say Alex and Joe at the Star would probably be the two most reliable, in that they have to, because it is their job to actually verify some of the information, which is why sometimes the news comes out a little bit slower, but they can't just suddenly report on something because Bob down the road has told someone and it's coming through a DM to him. Like they have their sources. They've got to verify this stuff. Probably more than one person as well, depending on who it comes from, to actually, before they put that news out. So yeah, if you're looking for reliable information, the two that you need to follow. But look, who doesn't follow Joe and Alex? Like, if you're a Wednesday fan, you follow them both on socials. So yeah,
I would add Rob Staten into the mix as well. He's...
Whoa! Rob told us that Shea Charles was staying. Oh, no. He told us he was going.
He was going, and then he was staying. which technically he was still right.
I'm only joking.
Yeah, I know, James. The other thing I would say as well is when you were just pointing that out about the all of the the professional journalists within the room, let's say, their sources are not necessarily I've heard it from the horse's mouth. I don't know where their sources are. I've never spoken to them, but journalist sources do vary. And if you are waiting for confirmation from, say, 3 sources or 2 sources before you run a story, then you are going to have to wait a little bit for news. Whereas, me and you, I mean, you in particular more than me, James, get sent information 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at the minute, some of which is actually tangible and you can go, okay, this does come from a credible source, some of which not so much.
Well, you tend to wait. Like, for the first one, you tend to wait and then you go, oh, you were right, actually, that person. So then the next time they tell you, you think, oh, I'm going to tend to believe this person. But then again, even those that give you credible information constantly, from time to time they get it wrong. And then also as well, one thing I want to say when people talk about all this in the know, it's a phrase that really pisses me off. It really, really annoys me, to be fair. But but let's just use it because that's what everyone else keeps saying. Like when people get the information, it's not necessarily that it's wrong. It's just that things have moved on since that point, and so now it's a bit out of date, and now it perhaps looks wrong. But maybe it was right at the time, So just something to.
James, you can't say that because that's too sensible an argument. You can't say that, James. If you've claimed to be in the know and you've said it on the internet, then it's there forever.
I mean, to be fair as well, there is some things that are absolutely wild that you read.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. I mean, the ChatGPT response from the Florida Consortium. I'm reading some of the comments and I'm like, oh, it sounds like a very good response. That yeah, I like these lads.
What?
I'm like, can you not see that AI is just like? I mean,
Have
to
you
be
even
fair,
left the emojis on that ChatGPT puts on?
I mean, to be fair, some people think you can win a Range Rover by liking a comment on Facebook.
Oh, God,
These are the people that we're dealing with, to be honest. Right, there's some more questions. I'm just going to go down in kind of chronological order or whatever order X puts them in. Jamesy Boy has said, any clue will actually make the first game of the season with a manager and a side? I don't see how it can go ahead. I think, well, I said that. Tuesday could roll around and we could have the news that, X amount of players have handed the notice in, and we could, it could be the squad could look very, very different in, say, 16 days time, 17 days time. Certainly in a month's time, it could look very different. If they don't all walk away, we've spoke about it on Extra Time, didn't we? About the kind of current squad in its own, in its current situation. Yes, I think we will. I don't think us not making the first game of the season is. I don't think it's going to get to that. To be fair, I think we'll. Well, I'm doubting myself now a little bit. But Matt, what do you think?
Manager, I think, is the most tricky one of the two. Do I think we'll have a manager in place? I think there will be a person who has manager in their title in place.
Neil Thompson.
And that's the kind of the point that I'm getting at here, James, is do I think that it will be a manager, quote unquote, who people would recognise as a football manager? I'm not sure. Do I think we'll be able to field 11 players in the entirety of Sheffield Wednesday in the playing staff that we do have there? Yes, I would hazard a guess we'll be able to do so. Do I think that it's going to be the first 11 on paper that isn't actually that bad? He's probably better than... He's probably lower mid-table. The first 11, that's before we start going into squad value. Do I think that squad on paper is good enough? Yes, I do. Do I think that is capable of being wheeled out? Absolutely. Do I think the off-field financial situation is going to cloud every single answer that you can give on this question? Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not, oh no, they've got another month before they can hand in their notice. No, this is it. It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday, isn't it?
If they're not paid, they can hand in their notice. And we know of several players who are just simply fed up of this situation. And our club captain is out of contract. Why would you sign a contract that you automatically know the second you sign it can't be fulfilled?
I can see what's going to happen here. They're not going to get paid. Barry Bannon's not going to have signed the contract. He will turn up on Tuesday and Wednesday, and he'll get snapped, and then everyone will think, what a legend for PR. And he is,
which he is,
yeah. But that's what's going to happen. But they're kind of forgetting the fact that actually, he's literally not under contract at all, and he hasn't been paid, and all that sort of stuff. You're right. All that, you can't really give a definitive answer until we know that there's going to be enough money in place. Now, by all accounts, Kadamarshi's gone to Man City. He's kind of just crossing the T's and dotting the I's. So there is going to be money that comes in there. Then there's Sky money and stuff like that. So, hopefully from a playing perspective, hopefully they are going to be paid at some point. It doesn't really resolve the whole situation and how we feel, just purely from having players to play in this championship campaign. I think we'll probably just be all right. Kind of moving on from that, CJ says, is tomorrow the most crucial in Sheffield Wednesday's 158-year history?
I thought it was last week because I thought last week set everything up for this week. As it turned out, it was actually only Thursday, Friday that was the most crucial and pivotal week. I think roll it over. It's like a Euro Millions. Roll it over. Let's see what you've really won.
It feels like every week there's something else that keeps coming. And obviously, if players aren't paid, then we'll just roll on to 15 days time. Yeah. As to kind of who has actually, unless that news comes out in the press, but it'll be who's handed it in or not. Are they going to be paid in between now and then? We'll not be talking about Usually it's when's the new kit out. I've seen that a few kits have been released by Macron. I think West Brom, Stoke.
That's
really
a shocker, that, by the way.
Yeah,
That's a
Stokes
shocker, that
Stokes away
Stokes
kit.
away. Ooh,
Yeah, really nice.
I wouldn't want to buy it or wear it, but yeah, it's a nice kit.
Yeah, you look like a bit like a refresher or fruit pastel or something like that.
Yeah.
Fruit salad is what I'm going
It's
for,
like
yeah.
them packs of Fruitellas that you can get, but like the edgy graphics where it was like our 1980s one. It's a version of that, innit?
It does actually look quite nice, to be fair. But yeah, I go with you on that. But
Can't
anyway,
lose in it. You cannot fucking lose in it though.
No, but it'll be. We're not talking about like when a kit's coming out. We're talking about our players can get paid again, and I've gone through this many time, and it's just
to go.
not.
Sorry, James. Go carry on. Finish it.
It's just not what you should be talking about, is it?
No. Think back to last year. It was literally this week last year coming up when we released the orange kit, and everyone was like, "Whoa, fucking hell, what a kit! It's orange." All the rest of it. Now, the kit could be released tomorrow morning, followed by an announcement on Tuesday that we've not paid the players, and nobody will bat an eyelid at the kit. They'll go, "Oh yeah, kit's been released." Anyway, wages.
The fixtures come out last week. I genuinely couldn't tell you who the second game of the season is against.
Stoke at home.
Thanks, but I didn't. I genuinely. You know what? Genuinely, we play Leicester away, and then I think United are in November. And then are they in February again or something like that?
Yeah, we got Hull on Boxing Day.
Yeah. Oh, Preston on New Year's Day. I know that because it's always around Christmas.
Always Christmas.
But genuinely, honestly, like I've got no. No, it's not. I've got no interest in it. There are bigger issues at the moment than kind of who we're playing and when we're playing. Like, normally you'd be like, you've memorised it all. You know who you're playing kind of around your birthday. Well, I don't get a birthday fixture. It's international weekend. We have to drop down into League One to have a game around then. But
mine, sadly, James, this year is once again Sheffield United. Once again. Well done. Not only are you getting another year older, but also have a loss as well.
Yeah, that's going to be...
Shit.
Thing is, it'll be kind of very much like this season, to be honest, in that, this last... Can I say this season? Is it last season or is it this season? What do you have to say?
Reset, and Sheffield United aren't in the Premier League. They're at 0 points as well. So, yes, it's this season.
Right, okay. So last season then, when we played
there we go.
It's almost like, the expectation is that they would probably beat us, like, and it could be the same this time. So it's almost like it doesn't really count.
I tell you what, James, if they thought we celebrated a 0-0 win before, fucking hell. Can you imagine we get 2 draws this year? Oh my goodness me.
Beep, beep, beep. Yep, it's that open top bus reversing.
Oh my God. I might buy one. I might literally pay for one, James. Like, I genuinely might pay for one and stick all youth team on that have been playing.
Matt, stop laughing. We have to be serious.
Sorry, there's enough positivity.
No, you have to be serious. We have to be serious on the matter. It's...
Oh, dear.
Got one from Jamie. He says, what other practical steps as fans can we take to attempt to make DC listen to our will and start to negotiate an exit? Large-scale demonstration at the ground on the first day of the season, boycott or tickets and merchandise, a joint letter signed by the fans, staff and players, ? It's a tricky one, that one, isn't it? Because... I got asked this question the other day as well, and I just kind of replied by saying, well, yes, we need to ramp the efforts up. However, I feel like when we were doing the protests beforehand, the aim was to kind of get us further down the line, and I feel like we are further on. As in, people are coming to the table in terms of with offers and stuff, and it's now quite kind of well documented. The only issue we've got is he's also well documented how much of a batshit crazy owner Dejphon Chansiri is, and how much of a nightmare he is to actually deal with as well, which is a concern. But I do agree that there does need to be more protests and stuff. People were saying, should there be stuff kind of now? Because obviously we are still a fair way away from the start of the season. I think there needs to be a protest when there's a game on at Hillsborough or whether it's away from home, just because there's more chance of getting more people involved. Like, as much as everyone, you forget how many people come from further afield. I don't think people are going to be driving in from Derby to be part of a protest that lasts half an hour. There might be some, but do you know what I mean? Like, are people going to be that live as far away as yourself? You probably would. If there's a match on, you're going to turn up and do it part of that. But I do agree that it does need to be ramped up, and we do need to make our voices heard. And the other thing is, I genuinely don't know what the next step is. I genuinely don't know what it's going to be.
I think it's more public humiliation is the honest answer. I think you'd need to refer to Jim and Rob probably about some of the efforts that they thought about doing, because we've done peaceful protests, the marches are great, all the rest of it is wonderful. I think if you then look at the Reading situation, they started very similar with very peaceful stuff. They then started with sit-ins. They started disrupting games by going onto the pitch. That happened at Blackpool as well. I'm not encouraging people to do so, because that's not any way, shape or form my role within this kind of situation. But I do think that the Sheffield Wednesday Supporters Trust has been, credit where it is due, really progressive and forward thinking on this. They've been great at engaging people. They've been great at getting out their messaging, irrespective of what you thought about that protest, whether you were involved or not on the last home game of the season. It was incredibly well attended with, there was only 30 fans there, apparently. There was, me and you were inside of it. Me and you were in that protest, James. There was, I would have said 2,000 to 3,000 conservatively marching across Hillsborough Park. I would imagine that number swelled quite greatly with the ongoings over this summer. I think we kind of have gone beyond a little bit of that turn your back on Chansiri on 10 minutes. I think the time for that has kind of gone now. I do think it's got to be some more public things. Pitch invasions, which Big Artie Shaw's put up, cost him through fines, which, don't get me wrong, I do understand that. And I do understand that there will be some fans who feel that that is the next kind of an appropriate course of action, is that. What I would say is at this point is it is very much a numbers game. And by that, I mean, you need weight of numbers behind you with protests. Because again, as we saw, and I'm sure Jim and I don't want to put words in their mouths, Jim and Rob attempted to get several protests, from letters to a number of other things, off the ground, and people absolutely crucified two lads and a group of lads who were just trying to save the club because they saw this coming.
The only difference is we have moved on a hell of a lot since then.
I agree.
And the only thing that's annoying as well, to a certain degree, is that it's happening in the off season. Where there's nobody at the ground. There's like nothing. There's nothing to do. Like, there's nothing to buy. There's no shirt to buy yet. It wouldn't surprise me if you held off on that, until after the start of the season. I don't know. Just try and delay it, or I have no idea what benefit that would be. But to be honest, I don't understand half of the decisions that Chansiri makes either. So we'll just put it under that one for a second.
No, of course, James. I've just highlighted this one from Gary here because I thought this was an interesting point, but it wasn't because of the protest that Reading forced him out. It was a conviction in China. The difference that I would say, Gary, with Dai Younger and Deshwan Chansiri is Chansiri does respond to public pressure. Dai Younger was just an absentee owner for 12, 18 months, 2 years, where he was nowhere need to be seen, nothing at all. We know public pressure gets to Chansiri. We know statements against him that are big and are public that do drag his name through the mud. I mean this nicely, Gary, he just can't keep his mouth shut. Dai Younger basically was like, well, out of sight, out of mind. I've got bigger fish to fry here.
Yeah.
Deshwan Chansiri is so focused on what happens at this football club.
Yeah, I think whilst there's a lot of similarities between the two, it's not like for like the same. You know what I mean? Like there is some differences, and the one that is different is he does. Although we haven't heard from him for a while, up until late last week, he did keep himself quiet for a little bit.
But that's what I mean, James. He's responded to two bids because there's been noise on social media. He's made a public club statement, 874, 75 words, was it? Whatever the fuck it was on Thursday. Because I really don't want to downplay Simon here, because Simon on Twitter won't shut up. And I mean that very nicely. He's come out because a potential bidder who he hasn't allowed to sign an NDA with has come out and given 2 interviews. And a person on Twitter who he refers to as the mediator or whatever the fuck it was is providing updates of what's going on. That public pressure gets to him to the point of he boils over. Anybody who's been in a fans forum, like after the last fans forum, fans were coming out and going, he's fucking batshit mental. The trust were coming out. You've been in a room with him. He just rants because he gets so worked up about the fact that he can't make people believe him and he can't make people like him.
So also basically what we're going to do is come out with a whole load of lies, and then he'll tell you what his version of the truth is. Basically,
Yeah.
So that's how you poke the bear. That's how you kind of entice him out. Dan Longdon said, Dan Langton, pitch invasion equals lifetime ban. Try banning 1,000 people that run onto the pitch.
And that's what I mean. Yeah, and that's what I mean is if people are going to do something like that, and again, I'm not encouraging it. That is not my place or in any way, shape, or form. It's a numbers game with that, because if you look at Reading and the protest that there, or Blackpool, it is a large group of people en masse, very organised, and to be fair, to a degree, relatively peaceful.
George is asking how much are tennis balls. I'm having a look now. You can buy a pack of 3 for £4.50 on Amazon if you're interested.
Just while you're games as well, Mark, don't waste them. Golf balls, don't waste them. Don't waste them.
Get some lake balls, not your Pro V ones or anything like that.
I was going to say don't waste them, and then Chef Cam's just waded in fucking cannonballs. Jesus Christ. Jedgepon's back, Channy's balls. We're all in.
Get your balls out.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't say that out loud.
Please don't do that.
Oh dear me, it's took a turn for the worse, this podcast now, isn't it? Really, but
yeah, it's again. I think it's a really difficult situation, and again, my personal belief is the trust did such a good job on the last and organising the recent protests. I would imagine that they have got plenty of things that they have got lined up in the pipeline for things that they're thinking about doing. And if you are looking to get involved in a wider fan movement, 100%.
Yeah, I think as well, people need to stop with the criticism of saying, well, that's not going to get him to sell. Like, ultimately, the only thing that will get him to sell is meeting his demands with money and turning up and saying, I will buy the football club off you for X amount, and if that X amount is the same figure that he's got in his head, that is let's just be straight about it, that is the only thing that will make him sell the football club. I 100% get that. However, it does not hurt to try. Like, protests happen everywhere, like all across the world, and it's also there to disrupt. That is by the nature of a protest, is to disrupt. So please, people, stop saying like, oh, it's going to affect the players. Oh, it's going to affect this, that, and the other. Like, if you want it to carry on as it is, fine. But there's a lot of people out there that don't want it to carry on, and they feel like the next best thing to do is protest. And, I think we're kind of almost at a point of no return at the moment. Like, the situation is really, really bad. I keep trying to tell myself that it isn't, but then when you read it and you look at, I think the thing for me, when you look at other fans and the things that they're complaining about, you're thinking, like, I wish I was only complaining about that. I think Leeds fans were complaining that they couldn't go to a pre-season game in Germany or something. Like,
weren't we all moaning about that 12 months ago with like RB Salzburg or something like that? What a world.
What's pre-season? What's the pre-season friendly? Like, I want to know what one of them. Like, at least we, they've got a fixture that they can actually look forward to. We haven't even got any fixtures at all. Like, again, we joke about it, we laugh about it. Like, but that's how it's got to it. That's how it's got us. Like, it's that bad that like some things that were bad before are now not bad at all, if that makes sense. It is that Stockholm syndrome, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, you get beaten over the head so many times that, you know, something so small, just by showing a dark blue and light blue Macron training kit, everyone's like, "Oh my god, what's it? You know, how good does that look?" And then
sweet release for like an hour, like sweet release of like, "Oh, they've turned up for training. Oh, look at the training kits." Like that sweet release of like, I genuinely, James, I don't know how you felt about this. You know, when you loaded up like your like X or Instagram or whatever, and you saw the photos, or you went on the website and you saw the photos. There was like 30, 40 seconds in just my brain of just like, not just going, "Oh, right, who the fuck's there? They're not, they've come back, There was like 30 seconds of me going, "Oh, that's really nice." It's really nice to see footballers actually at the club, like people who I give a fuck about. Like,
yeah,
rather than
Bannon.
talking about this narcissistic prick.
Was it Joey Pooty that turned up looking like $1 million?
He did not turn up here.
Oh no,
he did not turn up here. Sean Facere turned up looking like
do you know what? I will never ever get that.
Sean Facere turned up looking like the best central midfielder this league's ever seen. That's what he turned up looking like.
He had a bit of a glow up as well, didn't he? Do you know what I mean? Like he was, you know, a bit of a shrug of the shoulder when he walked in. Yeah. He's thinking, yes, I will be in that midfield this season. I know it's just by default, but anyway, you know, I want to make the most of it. So,
then Jason's just put it in the chat, and we were very, very firmly brought back down to earth with Josh Windass posting a photo of an exit door.
Yeah, again, it's like the whole. Did he mean it? Did he not mean it? Like, this is
he's fucking
mind blown.
But
Fisher did not make the cut on Twitter though, did he? He made the Instagram cut. Did not make the 4-image cut on X.
No.
But yeah, right.
Shame.
Let's wrap things up. We are going to be talking about who next. Who do we think the next manager of Sheffield Wednesday is going to be when the inevitable happens that Danny Röhl does eventually leave? I mean, just before we move on, seeing Danny Röhl in the dugout at Leicester would
there
just
is
be
more predictable. There is no when to be fair, James, when that fixture was announced, and I was like, 4:30 on Sky. Oh, that's a bit of a ball ache, isn't it? Like, I was looking forward to like a Saturday because it was 4:30 last. At least it's only an hour from my house. And then that news came out, and I was like, can we please all give a huge King Power welcome to Danny Boo?
Snake,
wanker,
sausage roll.
Just, oh my God, it's just going to be horrendous, isn't it? Oh God.
And then Michael Smith pops up for the EK Ugbo with the winner.
I tell you what, if Ugbo scores game week 1 and we win 1-0, there'll be 2,000 Wednesday fans on a pitch fucking somewhere. I tell you that much.
I've already seen people saying he would. Was it Adebayor that did it for City? Yeah.
Suarez did that one at Everton where he dived in front of David Moyes. Just oh man.
Anyway, we are wrapping things up. We're going to be jumping over to Patreon, patreon.com/WTID pod. If you want to go and watch us talk about who we think the next manager is going to be. I'm sure there'll be some laughs over there as well. So yeah, join us there. And I think in the meantime, give us 10 minutes. I think Matt's going to shove a few more slices of pizza down his.
They're not done. Hang on, I just want to pull this one up, James. You weren't, because I did pull one up earlier in the chat. I do know that I was looking out for one that I could use, James. I do know you've not been blanked again, but you've not been blanked again.
Wait a minute, VAR check. Yep. Disallowed. There was a comment earlier. Right, massive thanks everyone. Yeah, see you over on Patreon, and we'll see you all there. Cheers.